Do you ever wonder how much more we could achieve if our energy matched our ambition? Today, I want to give you 5 life-changing habits that are going to give you all the extra energy that you need to do the things you need and boost your productivity. Plus, at the end, I'm going to give you all the coaching tips that I give my clients to help them put these habits into place so they stick and stay. So let's get started. Because you've got so much on your plate, what you don't need is more to-dos. So today is all about effectiveness. How can we be more effective? So with all these habits that we'll be looking at, be thinking about how you do them as much as what you're doing, especially if you're doing them already. Since having more energy is our end game, I'm going to invite us all to check in to see what our energy is. 10 is your highest, 1 is your lowest. It's a personal scale. You can't do it wrong. This is a baseline skill that you'll want to develop so that you can always be checking to see what's working, what's not working. I would say I am about an 8 right now. How about you? Let me know in the comments below. Movement breaks is one of my favorite ways to keep my energy steady. I use this little clock here, and I can set it to whatever time I'm working. I like to work in 25-minute blocks because then I move for 5 minutes after that. Or if I'm working in a 50-minute block, yes, it's 10 minutes. What we know about movement is blood circulation. It just starts to move around. And what's in our blood? Oxygen. When we have that oxygen moving around, we have more energy. This fights fatigue. The second thing that movement does for our energy is it's like a little bit of a reset. So after this goes off, what happens is I come back to my task at hand and I'm just like a little bit more ready for the next thing. What it does for productivity is it decreases our brain fog and means that we're more focused. We want to be focused on the thing. It just keeps momentum steady. So the second little habit that I have for you is as simple as sighing. What? So think of a sigh just as like deflating yourself like a balloon. How does this sighing motion improve our energy? What can happen is we get all this emotional tension and tightness in our body. And when we sigh, it releases that and we let it go. It also is a really powerful signal to our nervous system to shift into more of a relaxation mode out of stress state. How does this connect to our productivity? If we're emotionally overwhelmed and we're like, ah, when we can sigh and let that out, we can get back to a state of mental clarity. It also opens up space for fresh thinking and improved problem solving. I often do these in the car. I'll just like, and I can actually feel my shoulders drop. And that's especially when I notice how much tension that I can actually hold without even knowing it. So just try a few on for size. Yeah, it might look silly, but when you start to experience it, the improvements, the effects, you just won't care because it feels so good to let it all go. Who's in? Of course, we have to talk about sleep. This is my amazing sleep mask that I wish I had long time ago when my babies were little. So first of all, before I tell you about this amazing sleep mask, this is the thing I give all my friends. How does sleep impact our energy? We know this. We know this, right? It restores our physical, our mental, our emotional, our spiritual energy, all of it. It's a reset like you just can't get anywhere else. It also regulates our hormones, perimenopause, and helps us regulate those hormones that control stress and energy. So important. How does this improve our productivity? In all the ways. When you wake up, you can be more focused, your decision making is different. You can just tackle everything more effectively because you've had a sleep. Now, if you have sleep challenges, every single woman I know, there's very few of us that have perfect sleep. You're going to want to get yourself one of these little masks. And here's why I love it so much. There's actually a little Bluetooth here thingy that connects to my phone, and I've got my meditation app on there. So what that means is I can connect this to my phone and I can sleep with it. Yes, it goes right over my eyes. Here's what's so magical about this. Sometimes it's harder to wind down after a long day. You put this on and you can put on music. You can put on a meditation. You can put on anything. I use Insight Timer. When I put the meditation app on at night as I'm falling asleep, it doesn't really matter what's going on in my brain because I'm starting to listen to the meditation. So my thoughts just move there versus ruminating. If I wake up in the middle of the night, again, hormones or because I need to pee or whatever, I can put that on and just get myself back to sleep and stay in a calm state, which is so important for sleep. And yes, it actually helps because my husband snores and it does cut that out a bit, not entirely, but quite a bit. So this can make all the difference with your sleep. Yes, get it for yourself. Put it in your stocking. Now, go, just go. It's just so good. So that's number three. So the next little tip is to stretch. What? Yes, stretching can help us with our energy. When we are tense, that is actually a drain on our energy. So by stretching and paying attention to those parts of our bodies which are tight, we can restore energy and not let that drain continue. When we think about our muscles and giving them some care during the day, yes, I'll sometimes wear this, pulls my chest back and keeps me sitting up tight, helps with posture. When we're sitting up tight, we're more able to breathe. Yes, we are more able to breathe. And that matters. When that oxygen flows, we have more energy. Productivity. How does this fit in? When our bodies are uncomfortable, it can be really distracting. We notice our tight necks, we ignore them and we keep going. But when we give our bodies a little bit of TLC, a little bit of stretching, let our shoulders pull back, that can actually help us to stay more focused on our work. And when we're comfortable, we can have a more sustained focus. This is also a nifty little thing. I got it at my chiropractor. You can get them on Amazon, and it just keeps me sitting up tall and breathing better. This might be one of my favorites. One of the ways that we can support our energy is by paying attention to those little check boxes when we're checking it off. It doesn't matter if you're doing this on paper or if you're doing it inside your productivity app. When you check it off, let yourself experience that little moment of being done. We know already from the science that a checkbox releases a little hit of dopamine, that feel-good chemical in our brain. So really sink into that moment and almost like an inner high five saying, yeah, I did the thing. This practice can help us build really kind and important momentum and supports this awareness that we are capable, we are effective, we are making progress. When you just take that extra millisecond to notice what you've done, how does this matter for our productivity? It's like we're on our own team. We are motivating ourselves with this positivity, with this feel good moment, and saying, hey, I'm doing it, I'm making this progress. And it's like you're witnessing and seeing yourself and the hard work that you're doing. It also fosters self-trust, encourages consistency, and again, that steady state with breaks that keeps burnout at bay. It's like finding 100 different ways to check off the same box, but this one by checking in with yourself and saying, did it. And then before you go off to the next one. So there you go. 5 different things you can try, ideally not all at once, for the next week. What I also promised you were some tips, the same tips that I give every single one of my clients. as they go on their own journey of building habits. And so the first thing that I talk about all the time is replacing self-judgment with curiosity. As a learner, as someone who wants to grow and improve, this is one of the biggest and most important shifts that you can make. We already have that rhetoric in our head, like, oh my goodness, I didn't do this right. Oh, wow. What am I supposed to do? Oh, I missed a date. It's all these tiny little judgments that really lock us in and again, consume our energy. But when we're open, we're more relaxed, we're more of a learner, and we're more curious about our progress. This is just one of the kindest things you can do to be on your own team. So the second tip is instead of calling it a habit, call it a practice. I really like this idea of I'm just going to practice this thing for a while. It keeps it light, it keeps it fun. It means that I'm not just the doer of the thing. Oh, check mark. I did that little movement break, or check, I did that thing, to the person who gets to experience it and say, oh, that's what it feels like. That's interesting. And give us a connection to this thing that we're going after versus just the getting it done person. So see what happens when you call something a practice instead of a habit. The next thing that I would encourage you to try is to think of it like a 1 week long experiment. You don't know how it's going to work out. Just because someone in a book said, build this habit, doesn't mean it's going to be exactly right for you. So when you think about it as an experiment, you're actually honoring yourself and appreciating yourself and saying, how do I make this mine? It's letting yourself customize it a little bit so that it feels good and feels right for you. When it becomes an experiment, we can also look at each day and kind of capture the data from it, if you will. Like, huh, how did today go? How did that go? When we take our eye off the getting it right on one day and making sure we do it on one day and move into this, what would it be like if I did this for a week and experimented with that? Then we're more likely to develop a habit that is really our own. And that is where it makes so much difference because now we're doing it for ourselves because we know what to do that works for us. The fourth tip, also so important, and it's built into what I've already been talking about, is noticing the change you're going after. So at the very beginning of this video, go back there if you need to, I talked about doing that scan, that check-in, like what is your energy in this moment? And the reason why that's so important is because you want to be checking in to see how is my energy shifting? What does make the difference? Doesn't mean it's going to give you the effect that you're looking for. You got to stay open and curious to notice what of these practices really makes the difference for me, really helps me shift my energy, boost my energy. I remember clear as day the time when I started to really focus on sleep. I remember in that time of experimenting, driving to work and saying, oh my goodness, this is what it feels like to have a good night's sleep. My mind was clear. It's like I could look around and I realized what a fog I'd been in for so long, thinking I didn't need sleep. And because of that moment, became committed to sleep because I know what a difference it makes for me. But I had to notice the change. It wasn't enough just to know that sleep was important. I had to notice how it was improving for me. So try those tips out and let me know which of these you're going to try. So you may need to go back with a notebook and just pick the one that works for you, listen to that over again, and then try these tips out so that the practice really becomes yours and actually becomes a habit. So there you go. I would love to have you on the journey. Click subscribe, and that way you'll get notifications that I posted, and we can do this together.